Court. I do a lot of things with student constitutions. If you guys have any revisions, I go through them, and if it's a new constitution, we review those as well. And one of your clauses in your constitution are on elections, so I do kind of have to know that kind of stuff to be able to go through them accurately. And so that's what I'll be going through today. Are you ready for the screen share, Mike?
Yes, you're welcome to do that. And I was remiss, I did hit record after I introduced myself, but I think it was perfect that we still got you, Matt.
Okay. So I have pulled up here is a model constitution. So this isn't anything set in stone for any specific organization, but it does go through just the general ideas that are in everyone's student constitution. So closer to the end, usually Article 5, sometimes a little lower depending on how detailed your constitution is. You should have a whole article just titled elections in your student club constitution. And so it's kind of broken up into 3 separate parts. The first part is who can run. What qualifications does an individual need to have to run? Usually just go around the lines of a specific amount of time in the organization and a specific amount of meetings they need to at least have. So for this Model 1, the example is at least 3 meetings. So you have to be able to go to meetings in order to run. Next is your nomination process, which is more than less just getting your name onto the ballot. Some clubs, I just revised one constitution, they use Google Form. So from one meeting to the next meeting, they have a Google form open, and you're able to write in your name, a little bit about yourself, and maybe a picture. Usually not too complicated. And then they just kind of check through their attendance, say, all right, this person is qualified to go. The third part, and probably the part we're all here for, is the election itself. Procedure-wise, it is just go exactly as it's written there. So it has when it's held. You could say anywhere between like March, April, you'll still be fine. And so then when you get to the meeting itself, you can just go through Laker Life, which we'll go through a little later to cast your vote, or once again, like a Google form. And just gotta make sure you were able to count the votes. You might just do it on your attendance sheet or whatever. And then for the actual like determining who won, you can do simple majority of just how many more people voted for this person than the other person, or you can do percentage wise. For a true majority, you have to win at least 51%. And if somehow there is a tie, you can have an individual break it. Usually it's the club president, but if the club president's running, you probably don't want them breaking the tie, right? And so you could have like your advisor or the vice president or someone else who is not having any sort of conflict of interest in it, break that tie. All elections, once you're done and finished, you just submit the results to Laker Life. And so we can start doing up the process of changing that and determining who we have to run the organization in the next year. So even though each constitution is more individualized, we are more than happy to look at your constitution on file and answer any specific questions that you have, particularly to your own specific student club constitution.
Thank you, Matt. That was a great walkthrough of the model constitution. I would also like to share, if you're interested in downloading that document to revise your constitution or just as a general guide, if you visit the student involvement at the point page in Laker Life, you actually can download that as well. So that's readily available to everybody too. Were there any questions for Matt on that process before I go into Laker Life and show some of the election mechanics that are available to you there if you want them?
So if people are watching like on YouTube or something, you guys can feel free to email me your questions as well of just sa.court@oswego.edu. So you're welcome to email me if you have any questions that come up afterwards.
Yes, and that was a great catch, Matt, too, for those that might be viewing later in regards to how they can find that information or work with the court. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go to the screen share for where elections are this way. And I'll apologize if I'm, for those watching a video later, moving the cursor a little bit in regards to the menus in Laker Life versus the menus of our pictures and such in regards to the presentation that way. So when you log into or sign into Laker Life, one of the first things you'll see on what I refer to as like the homepage to Laker Life are these alerts. And we've had two relatively standard alerts throughout the semester. One's an introductory video, which if you click this link, it will take you into that to Engage, which is the software company that powers Laker Life. And they power platforms like this from coast to coast. I think there's close to 1,000 campuses that use it. So it's pretty popular software. And then a direct link, obviously, with the last year to the As We Go Forward plan and all that our campus is doing to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, I added this alert. So it's center, it's right there for everyone that can bring you directly into the elections guide that is provided by Campus Labs and Anthology, who are the people who run Engage. There's, I guess, lots of layers to the business. And so this is here to give you a quick look and walkthrough if you were to use Laker Life to set up an election for your roster. So you don't need to do any additional work or access to things. I wanted to put it right there on the homepage, knowing that elections are coming up for all of our organizations and that it could be there to assist in moving forward that way. And with that, I wanted to then kind of show how the operations of that works. And to do that, one of the other things that you'll see is that when you come into Laker Life are the organizations that you're a member of. Up to 10 can show, and most people aren't a member of 10, so they can all show, and that's a quick way to get to your organization. One of them that you won't see listed if you were to go, say, to the top, where you can see all the organizations, is this test group. And this is something that's there for us as administrators to practice on for things. So if your organization was the ABC test group and you had set up an election, this gives you a view of what that might look like. And with that, as an officer of an organization, you get to see this Manage Organization button for your organization. And as you click that, it brings you to what is called the home page of your organization. And from here, when you go to the club menu, it brings you to what the software company calls the drawer, which activates all the parts of your page, from your roster to your about, to where you plan events, news stories, can have all your pictures up as well. So in the elections part in particular is where you would go to create that election. And it would be this easy. There's a button right there that says create election, and it walks you through the process. To give a visual of that, I did create these spring 21 demo elections for us. And since it's already been created, we can click it there. And as you go in, if you would hit create election, it's going to allow you to name the election. It's going to let you make it active or inactive. In this case, it's inactive because it's not a real organization. It's going to let you create instructions for the election. So if there are different offices, or if you want people to know about background information or introductory information to the election, this is where you would lay all of that out for them. And then it's going to let you set a time for the election, very much like the essay election, which is currently taking place over a period of time. You can set when it starts and when it finishes that way, and make sure that it's limited to the roster of those individuals of the organization. Now that's the front page, the properties. Then you would go into the ballot, and here it would let you create ballot, and it would actually let you create multiple ballots per election if you wanted to do that. So you could set your ballot up in a few different ways. If you wanted to, you could create a different ballot, say for each position, or you could put them under one to keep it simple. So as you go into that page, at first it would be blank, but you would have all of these tools to add more instructions. If you needed them to rank something, you could do that, a text field if you wanted to put that in. But most popular for general elections is the radio button option. So you would be able to put, who do you support on line 1? But you might be saying, who would you like to be president of ZABC Test Club? And then you could have person A or person B, or if it say it were just Matthew and I as the 2 presenters tonight, would you be voting for Matthew or would you be voting for Mike? And then you could have your vice president here, your treasurer, your secretary. And that's one of the things to think about. Some organizations we know are struggling. You might have a constitution that allows you to have multiple offices. And you may not be able to fill all those right now because of social distancing and where things are, and that's okay. What we would stress to help with SA and to help with re-registration come August is that you do the best that you can to get the core 4 in place for the fall, which would be president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. And then if you are operating in a level and if you have additional offices that you can fill them, fantastic. If not, that's something as we open up more in the fall that you'll be able to work on at that time. So these would be the basic parts to setting up that ballot in Laker Life. And then as we move back, once the election has taken place, you would be able to click results, and it would then show you the results either versus total number of votes cast or total number of voters. This is the more popular one, votes cast, because maybe not everyone on your roster actually voted. And then it would show you a breakdown. So if it was 75% voted for Matthew and 25% voted for me, it would show you that in like a pie chart and then the numbers that way. You would also have the ability, in addition to letting your members know that the election's opened, on your page, so on the ZABC page, we could put an alert so everyone would know that that election was taking place. And we could send this link to people on our roster so that they would be able to go in and vote as well. So that is one way that that would work. Now with your rosters in Laker Life, this is potentially the one challenge to doing this is you would need to make sure that your roster is reflective of your active membership. Otherwise, anyone on your roster would be able to vote. So say, for example, Judy graduated last year or really isn't active with the club this year, but used to be, but she's still on the roster. If you went through this system, she would still be able to vote. So you would want to make sure that your roster was reflective of your active membership. So therefore, only those individuals were able to participate and vote in that election process. And I'm going to go back to Laker Life, the main page for a bit, and scroll down to the points page. Because in addition to being able to do your elections that way and having the elections information from Campus Labs on the front page, if you were to visit our page, Student Involvement at the Point, and were to scroll down past our videos and our programs, including the one you're attending or viewing if you're watching this later right now, you then can see our team, our news articles, but then our documents. And this is where most organizations have their constitutions posted, and sometimes they have other things as well. Some people use this feature a lot, some not as much, but wanted to let you know here, I also recreated some of the things from Engage in regards to their elections process if you choose to use this, or you can download it directly here as a PDF as well to help you out. And certainly you're welcome to use the other items that are here in regards to officer transitions and the advisor guide. And I guess an early plug, we will be doing some officer transitions programs in a few weeks, but obviously wanted to look at elections first because we need the elections before we can do the transitions. And I say with that, Matt, I don't know if you wanted to, if there's anything there that I missed that you wanted to look at.
Please, I believe you covered everything that we need.
Okay. So with that, I know that Matt and I would like to open this up for questions. so that we can help you with your individual organizations. I also know, as I had shared, we were recording this in regards to being able to help other student leaders so that we could post this on the Campus Life YouTube page and the Student Involvement Instagram account to help others that way. So I guess I want to give the opportunity to layer questions so that if you have questions about what Matt and I presented that are general to the presentation, we could take those first and have them as part of the recording because they may help others. However, if you have very specific questions tied to your organizations, if there are no general questions, then I'll stop record, and then we'll have that recording ready for those that want to view it, and you can ask the detailed questions about your organization and they won't be part of the recording. And since we are in an interactive format, I guess I'll do kind of a going once, going twice. All right, going 3 times. So at this time, I am going to stop the recording of the program and open it up for our live attendees to be able to ask us questions. But then in closing for the recording, I did want to share that Matthew, the SA Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, has shared that if you want to email him at sa.court@oswego.edu, you can do that to follow up with SA. Or if you visit the points page and see my name, it's Michael.Paestella@oswego.edu. You're welcome to email me so that I can help you as well. And with that, we'll stop the recording.